Welcome to Trekkie Tuesdays, where we discuss patterns of force. Did you know Nazis?
This episode was the World War II episode, more specifically just the Nazi episode, where for mostly inexplicable and bizarre reasoning, aliens are Nazis, and Kirk and Spock dress up like them and sort of vaguely help the resistance and magically are able to stop Nazis by finding pretend Hitler and making him no longer drugged. Solved.
Yep. With no bad blood between anybody.
No one's upset about anything. They're just like, oh, good. Now we don't have to kill each other. This is so great.
I couldn't really get past in this episode that the dialogue was just all so bland and uninspired and exposition-y, just no spark to it at all. Like, it felt like the first draft of a script before they went through and put in the actual clever lines. And maybe the first draft of a plot, somewhat. Just they kind of took the gangster episode and replaced the gangsters with Nazis, and then they just got to stop there.
It's not like a very deep message. It was basically like, did you know that Nazis are really bad? Anytime you think that, well, maybe Nazis were bad because they were evil, but like their politics, besides the hate on everybody but us thing, was good. You know, if you start to think that, this episode will remind you that no, Nazis are really bad. They make that bold statement that absolute power, what is it, corrupts absolutely?
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
And, what about Kirk? I don't know. They don't exactly work by consensus on the Enterprise.
It's very unself-aware there.
I don't know. And then they were gonna have an interesting discussion about humanity and whether we've learned this lesson or not. And then Kirk is like, guys, stop thinking. It's the end of the episode. We made our point. And you're like, oh, all right. All right.
They don't really do as well as I thought they were going to do with showing how anti-Nazi they were. Like, they repeat basically the myth that Nazi Germany was this hyper-efficient state that was very effective at everything that it did, which not so much, kind of by design. Like, Hitler didn't want any good organization because he felt it could be used against him. They just managed to have lines which listen to where sympathetic characters are like, listen to our Fuhrer, our glorious Fuhrer, and meaning it, and he only wants to preserve life. So yeah, this episode was banned in Germany. That's the only fun fact about it I can find, and it's pretty predictable. But no, this was not showed in Germany until 3 years ago.
Really? Why? Because they're still Nazis or something? I don't understand.
In Germany, you can't have swastikas in art ever.
Oh, because that's a good call, probably, maybe.
But you especially can't have anybody saying anything positive about the Nazis and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this was pro-Nazis, but it was pretty. I mean, it's unless you're 7 years old and thinking well, were the Nazis really that bad? And then you had the episode be like, yes, but we won't demonstrate that with our plot. We will demonstrate that with our words. Okay. I did like the girl lady, the lady who played the pretend Nazi, but was actually working for the resistance. Like, she,
Yeah,
had agency a little bit.
You immediately saw that there was a female Nazi, and you said, a Nazi love interest.
Nazi love interest.
But no,
not
actual
really.
character.
Yeah, Kirk, just gently touches her on the arm. Like, it's very mild flirting. Like, not even really there. And, like, totally fine. Like, he could do that, maybe, if it wasn't for his past history. But she really thought independently. She had, like, a backstory, lines. She probably had a name. She didn't really talk to any other women, but, hey, one good woman in an episode. It's, like, pretty much all you can get in Star Trek, and you don't always get that, so hooray!
Other random notes, Kirk and Spock have the awesome idea of injecting subcutaneous transponders in their arms so that they can be beamed up whenever, if in case bad guys capture them and take away their communicators. They should do that in every episode, and not only do they not, as far as I know, ever do that in any other episode, but here, in order to escape from a jail cell, instead of just kind of sitting and waiting for an hour until the dead man switch activates and they get beamed up, they actually remove the transponders and use them to fashion a makeshift laser.
Cut their arms, like Hunger Games style or something, to get out the transponders. But they're, like, not even like, ow, that kind of hurts. Like, oh, look at all the blood everywhere. Like, there's no, like, they could have made a thing out of that. They could have been like, all right, Spock, you gotta do it. Cut me open with that rusty piece of metal you magically pulled off the ground. Like, do it. I can't look. There's nothing.
Kirk
They're
has
just
the ability to pull apart metal in this episode. By the way.
Look, we got it out. Oh, look, we got the other one out. Why did we need both of them? I don't know. Like,
I think my favorite scene that we didn't see is the bit from the bridge crew's point of view, where where Kirk and Spock go missing for several hours, and then they call up and say, "Quick, dress McCoy up as a Nazi colonel and beam him down immediately." And Uhura's like, "Okay."
And then, like, he's like, "I can't get my boot on," and Spock's like, "Rationality says you should." And he's like, "All right." It's on. You're like, fine.
Yeah.
Why does this episode exist?
And it like somehow takes McCoy until he's put his boot on for him to occur to wonder why the hell, like, given past history,
nobody
you would
knows.
think if Kirk and Spock had disappeared for a while, then called up and said, "We need McCoy to dress up as a Nazi," they would think, oh, they've been kidnapped by godlike aliens who want to toy with Earthlings and humiliate them for their amusement again. We should not do that. But no.
It's just... And then, like, the whole premise, like, a historian would not make that choice to pretend to be Hitler. Like, that just wouldn't... It wouldn't happen. But let's... All right, for the sake of the episode, it does. Why is, like, the whole world that this lives in is, like, for the most part, exactly the same as, like, Hitler time. So, like, the cars are, like, historic cars for it. Like, and they have, like, one line about how, like, well, these are humanoid, aka exactly like humans, aliens, so all of their architecture is exactly the same. What? Like, architecture is not the same from block to block in New York City, let alone, like, whatever. It was just, like, one of these... It was like, let's have an episode where we talk about Nazis, and that would be like, okay, I'll give you my suspension of disbelief of, like, reality so that you can have an interesting discussion about Nazism. But they don't. They just, like, take the most boring, like, message from that, and then, like, that's, like, okay, a 5-year-old would tell you that. Like, why is that? You're, like... Ugh.
Yeah, you can't... The space Jews are actually supposed to be a different species, than the natives of the planet, but they look exactly the same. You know, the only way you could tell them apart is that they have space Jewish names like Isaac, and they come from a planet called Xeon. Get it?
Just like, I don't. Maybe you could turn it into a drinking game, and every time you see a swastika, you drink or something. I don't know. Like, I don't know how to redeem this episode. The sad thing is, this isn't the worst episode we've seen, but like, I don't know. All right, so tune in next week, where there probably won't be Nazis again. Like, that would be unlikely. So,
yep. Tune in next week for By Any Other Name, I think.
Would It Smell as Sweet? Did we watch that before?
I don't think so. I don't know what it would.
Probably not.
Don't remember one of those.
Okay. See you next week. Do, ba-do, ba-do.